Berachos Daf Chav Daled. In order to protect one's tefillin, you're allowed to put your tefillin between your mattress and your pillow, provided that you don't put your head directly above the tefillin. Shmuel says you're allowed to do so even if your wife is in the room, and the Brisa says you're not allowed to do so if your wife is in the room. But the halacha is like Shmuel. To put your tefillin underneath your feet, that would be a complete disrespect for the tefillin, and that's usher. Rava wanted to prove that not only did he say the halacha is like Shmuel, but he paskins that halacha is like Shmuel. So he told his Talmud Rav Amnuna, go get my tefillin. When his Talmud Rav Amnuna went to get his tefillin, he realized that the tefillin were below the pillow, not where Rava put his head, and that his wife went to the mikveh the night before. In other words, even in a situation of ishtay imay, you're still allowed to put your tefillin below your pillow. If two people were undressed and they were beneath the blanket, how do they say Kriya Shema? Now, if they're facing each other, it's definitely usher. If they're not facing each other, they're back to back. If it's his younger children, what exactly the age is? Machlokes in Gemara: a girl below the age of 3, a boy below the age of 9, or a girl below the age of 11 and a boy below the age of 12. Then it's mutter. His wife, or his older children, or just another person. According to Shmuel, it's machlokes in the Brisa whether you have to put a mechitza with a talis, and he paskins Shmuel that it's a mutter without the hefsek. And according to Rav Yosef, there's a difference between his wife and other people. His wife is mutter, ishtay kegufay, and other people, it's aser. But there's no concern of agavais, meaning rear. The rears that are touching each other, they are not considered an erva, and therefore you can say Kriya Shema even if they touch each other. The halacha is, in a lot of mitzvahs, but in Afrash's Chal, the Gemara is discussing, you should be standing up making the bracha, and if a person is unclothed, it's also to make a bracha. What if a person is unclothed and he's sitting? If it's a man, it's also because he doesn't have complete covering of his erva. But a woman, if she's sitting, it's mutter for her to make a bracha. The hairs of the erva by a man are not considered an erva, and you're allowed to say Kriya Shema in front of them. A tefach of a woman who typically covers that area, not necessarily erva, but anything that's typically covered, is usher for a man, even his own wife, to say Kriya Shema in front of that tefach. Now, if it's not his wife, it's usher to look at even the pinky of a woman if he does so to gaze at, to stare at, and to benefit from it. The thigh of a woman, according to the Mishnah Berurah, means above the knee. According to the Chazon Ish, means below the knee, is considered an erva. Therefore, in the way the Achronim explain, it's worse than a pinky because even if you're not staring at it to benefit, it's still usher to look at. Kol bi'isha erva, the voice, a singing voice of a woman, is considered erva, and the hair of a woman, sar bi'isha erva, of a married woman, a woman who typically covers her hair, that hair is considered an erva. The Gemara says it's usher to hang your tefillin by the retzuas on a peg, but you're allowed to hang them by the box. Is a machlokes if you're allowed to hang it by the actual box. If it's in a bag, in a tefillin bag, you're allowed to hang a tefillin bag on a peg, even though a Sefer Torah would be usher to hang by a peg. And this brings us to Amid Beis. If somebody is allowed during Shemona Esrei, he says Shemona Esrei aloud, well, if he just is trying to show Hashem that he's davening, that's usher because that shows that he doesn't have a munah that Hashem hears him without him being loud. But if he's doing so because that's how he has kavanah, then it's mutter, provided that he's not in public. Because if there's other people davening Shemona Esrei and he's disturbing them, that is usher, that's tir de tzibur. If somebody really raises his voice during Shemona Esrei, he's considered a navi sheker. If somebody burps or yawns during davening, during Shemona Esrei, he's considered gasei ruach. He's a gross type of a person. If he sneezes from his mouth, then that's a good siman. Yafa, the Gemara brings a story that Reb Zera, who had a sneezing issue, he had allergies, and he sneezed a lot. He was very happy to hear this halacha that if somebody sneezes during davening, it's considered a siman yafa. He said, this is worth more than all my Torah. Rebbe Chanina witnessed that Rebbe burped, sneezed, he spit during davening, he yawned. So the Gemara explains, when he burped and yawned, that was not intentional, and therefore he's not considered a gas ruach. When he sneezed, that's considered a typical sneeze, what we call today a sneeze from his mouth, and that's a siman yafa. When he spit, he didn't spit onto the ground because that's considered spitting in front of a king, so he spit into his clothing, and a person who's an istinus, he could put it into his scarf, And if he's really an istinus, he could spit it behind him. And if that doesn't work, then only he spits in front of him. Rabbi Yochanan, that is a Rebbe, he used his garment to crush a louse during Shemona Esrei, and he also, when his talis fell off completely, he wouldn't return it. It's usher to put on your talis during Shemona Esrei. But when he yawned, he had manners. He put his hand over his mouth in order not to show his mouth. However, the Gemara calls it sneezing from below, a sneeze that has a smell to it, that is usher. If you do it on purpose, that's considered a gas ruach. Now, what do you do if one feels that he has to do so during davening? He must walk dalet amas behind, wait until the smell clears, and then he goes back and continues from where he was in Shemona Esrei. But before he does so, he has to say a bracha, ask sort of for forgiveness for what he's just done, and he says, Yitzartanu nikavim nikavim chalulim chalulim goli v'du alefanecha cherpaseinu uchlimaseinu. You understand, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how embarrassed we are b'chayenu in our life, ubachriseinu, and when we die, rima v'terlea, we're going to be maggots and worms. And then it's unbelievable that in the middle of Shemona Esrei he makes this bracha, and then he continues with his bracha with the Shemona Esrei from where he led off before. And the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Yehuda held that it's usher to move from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael, as the pasuk says, "I will come and get you from Galus." And Rabbi Abba held that it's mutter. So Rabbi Abba kept on avoiding Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Abba said, "Before I go to Eretz Yisrael, let me hear one more halacha." And this is the halacha that he heard, that you say this bracha and you walk away. And he said, if I only came to hear this, it was worth it. If a person is in, let's say, a sleeping bag, and he's not dressed, and he wants to say Kriya Shema, but it's too cold for him to poke his head out. Now you have an issue of Libay Rois Erva, Einov Rois Erva, his eyes Rois Erva, his eyes see the Erva, his heart sees the Erva. So what you do is you make a mechitza, you put some sort of cloth between your neck and the Erva, and that's enough. That goes according to the Man Da'omer that says that it's not an issue for Libay Rois Erva. If that's an issue, then you put the cloth a little bit lower down, and that creates a chatzitza. If a person is walking the street and there's excrements, there's soya all around, Maviyam Metunaf, one Man Da'omer says you could put your hand on your mouth and continue saying Kriya Shema, provided that you continue to walk. If you're standing still, everybody holds that it's usher to say the Torah, and the other Man Da'omer says even putting your hand on your mouth doesn't work. Have a wonderful day.